Hi, I'm Dan with FreshPoint, and I want to take a few minutes to talk to you about the basics of pears. There are two main families of pears. There's the European pear, which is what we most commonly see and associate with a pear. It's got that elongated, slightly round, bulbous pear shape. And then we have the Asian cultivars that look more like apples and are actually sometimes sold as apple pears. Asian pears don't have USDA specs or grades. They're typically sold in single layer cases by count. They're typically sent in netted socks to prevent them from getting bruised and damaged during shipment. Their skin is really thin, so sometimes they'll rub off if they don't have that. European pears, on the other hand, have two separate grading systems depending on when the pears were harvested. Spring and fall pears have one set, and winter pears have another set. The vast majority of what's available on the market are US number 1 and number 2, and it's based mostly on external looks as far as skin color, uniformity of color of the variety, lack of scarring. There is a ripeness factor involved. California actually has a higher grade standard, as they do with their stone fruit, based on the overall ripeness of a pear. Well, how do you determine the ripeness of a pear without actually biting into it? Well, in the fields they use a pressure tester, and it's essentially a probe that determines how many pounds per square inch is required to break through. Not all of us have one, so the best way to do it is to take your pear, press on the stem end. If it yields to gentle pressure and it smells like a pear, you're ready to go. So how do you ripen a pear? Well, it's pretty easy. Just put it in a breathable bag. Could be a paper bag, could be a microperf plastic bag, and just let it sit and ripen. So when you're handling pears, take care. They're very susceptible to bruising and scarring as well as skin slip. So don't stack heavy things on top. You want to store your pears in the coldest part of your walk-in. They like it cold. Don't freeze them. They won't be good to eat out of hand. The other big concern is pears produce a lot of ethylene. So take care where you put them in your walk-in. Keep them away from really sensitive items such as lettuces to maximize the produce shelf life of everything in your cooler. So how do you know if you're using the right pear for the right application? Well, you can probably see the myriad of colors and shapes available. The Bosc pear doesn't look that pretty, isn't the best eating out of hand pear, but boy does it shine when you cook it, especially if you poach it. It maintains its shape and texture throughout the cooking process. The Forelle pear is a wonderful snacking pear when ripe. It'll get this nice yellow blush with the freckled red mottling. Forelle actually means trout in German, and it was named because it actually resembles a brook trout. We move on to the red pear. It's a great eating pear when ripe, and you want it to have that sweet floral aroma with the yielding stem end, but the most versatile pear of the bunch is probably the most common. This is the Bartlett pear. Not only is it a great eating pear, it's a wonderful cooking pear. It'll go from green to yellow when fully ripe, but it'll still maintain a good bit of texture for whatever application you choose to use. So what do you do with the Asian pears? I like to use them raw. They don't really oxidize when you cut them, and that crisp, sweet flesh is a wonderful ingredient to use raw. Consider using it in a salad. While the skin is edible, some people find it a bit gritty, so you may want to peel them before you use them. I'm Dan, and that's the basics of pears.